Hello, satisfactory people. A while back, I promised you a video highlighting my entire train system, and I have finally completed it, or at least most of it. I still have to build the factories building the more advanced parts like the turbo motors and whatnot. But I've got all my old production replaced with trains, and I'm going to show you how it works. So this is my new hub. You can see a lot of conveyor belts here. There's I guess that is the hub right there. Hopefully this choppiness clears up. My computer is not the latest and greatest. And this is probably the only game that really taxes it like this. But anyways, I got these rows of containers that have all the parts I think I'm gonna need available for me. I think you get the general idea there. Now this is my switching yard. So what happens here is trains will come into this side on my left, and they'll drop off parts that are being manufactured. And those parts get fed into a conveyor belt, which runs in a big U over to this side, where trains will pick them up and then drop them back off for more complicated assembly process. And this very first station here is for my work train, which carries some of the more basic parts for when I'm building stuff. And I'm not sure why, but I elevated my base up there. And then, as I'm sure you noticed, there was multiple levels up there, and that's basically scaffolding to help me build more belts as more stuff gets added. But like I said, I'm almost done. I just have the most complicated parts left to build, and then I'll have maxed out the production available at this stage in the game until they come out with a new update. Now I'm going to hop in my little personal choo-choo over here and show you the railroad. See if I can do this without screwing it up too bad. Last time I did this thing just ran the loop. Hopefully it does it again. So I had been running this whole railroad off of the geothermal generators, but they ended up not being able to produce enough power for that. So I've added, I think it's 36 coal power plants and then 4 fuel power plants. And then I think I told you guys in another video, my nuclear power is running all the factories and the miners and whatnot. I'm thinking about splitting up the nuclear power to have some of it run the railroad, but I haven't really decided for sure what I want to do with that. So now we're going past the original desert starting location, which is where my friend Rob likes to start. I haven't bothered to exploit any of this yet, but the idea is eventually to start tapping into the nodes and run their resources out to railroad pickup locations. And this original desert starting location has some pretty good nodes in it, and it's close to the edge of the map here, so it's easy to get to. Those of you that have played a lot know that the best nodes are in the dunes desert. The second best nodes are in the mountain. But the mountain is hard to get to. So as you'll see later in this trip, the dunes desert is where I'm pulling all of my resources from right now. So now we're starting to transition into the borderlands between the desert and the plains. And as I've told several of my friends, right over here, and we just went right past one, is one of the best spots to get oil from. I think there's 2 pure nodes and 2 normal nodes. There's another oil there. That's a pretty good place to get oil from. And now we're starting to move into the plains area. There's some pretty good nodes right up in here: iron, copper, and limestone. And last time I was tapping into those, one of the iron nodes you couldn't see, but you could stick a miner on it. So if it shows up on your ping and you can't figure out where it's at, just start trying to put miners down and you'll find it. And here's the plains starting area, which is where my friend Josh likes to start. The nodes are garbage here, but there's a ton of them. There's some spots where there's like 8 iron nodes all next to each other. So if you're willing to run a bunch of miners, you can actually pull a lot of resources out of it. Also, it's probably one of the more visually appealing places to play. You saw how long that save took. I had the game smoothed right back out while I was still tearing down my old base, but now I've complicated things back up again. I started out by maxing out my factory production capabilities. Towards the end there, it occurred to me I didn't need to do that. I just needed to build basic factories, and then if I felt the need to expand them later, I could do that. So now we're starting to transition into what I call the purple death zone, because the first time I tried to explore it, it killed me. And there's some pretty good oil over here. And right over there is some geothermal generators, which is why you see the power poles. And this is not a starting location. You have to wander into it after you start. Didn't work this time. Station. How about that? You know what? I think I'll swing by the nuclear area. You see that on here somewhere? I don't know. I'm talking to you. Like you're here. Maybe I'll edit this out. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll just let you see my process. Oh, here we go. We'll add that. And then add that. Now we're off. Oh, you can actually see the geothermal generators over there a little bit, that orange glowy stuff off in the distance. That's it. So here's the purple death zone. Like I said, good source of oil, not really a good source of anything else. Also, it's hard to drive around in, hard to explore just in general. A lot of stuff that's going to try and kill you. I'll probably cover it up with a factory, because I don't like it. Now we're going to kind of skirt the mountain area. I haven't built a railroad up into it yet, and I might not bother, because you can see how choppy everything's getting already. Forgot to cut down my plants there before I made the video. Oh well. So the mountain area is kind of over there. And this is the swamp, which is where I'm getting my bauxite and where I put my nuclear power plants. This place is also a pain in the ass. Has some good nodes if you feel like sloshing around in a swamp. So there's my nukes up there. I'm not going to walk over there because I don't feel like wasting my filters, my iodine filters. But the factory that builds this stuff for the nuclear fuel rods is directly below them, which you can kind of see. And that feeds the nuclear power plants. And currently that factory over there is producing enough nuclear fuel rods to run 10 nukes, and I'm only running 5. So this is a drop-off station for 2 of the parts that I make somewhere else. Because they're also... Well, I guess the electromagnetic rods are not used for anything else, but one of the assembly parts is stators, so I'd have to bus them over here anyway, so I might as well just build them over there and then bus them. So there's another geothermal power location. There's one in the swamp too, back there behind me. And now we're going to start getting into the main body of the factories. So here you see my plastic and rubber production. The plastic nuggets are made off-site. The game calls them something else, like resin or something. Call them nuggets. And then they're trained in here, dropped off, turned into plastic and rubber, and then picked back up. Here's my deuterium factory. The ore is dropped off, processed, belted over to building next door, turned into wire, picked back up by another train. There's my all-clad aluminum sheets factory. That's a little switching station for concrete and steel products. Here's the steel factory, which one of the things I ran into is this factory will suck down an entire, well, 4 cars worth of iron ore in about 5 minutes. And that's part of the problem with maxing your factories out when you have these fast belts, is you consume so many resources that your trains don't have time to come back and resupply them. I'm having the same problem with the copper factory. There's my iron ingots factory, my concrete factory. I mean, it's really not a big deal, unless you're one of those people that likes to see your factories running non-stop. So this is my original starting area, the dunes, and as you can see, I'm just piping all of the resources that I want out of the area over to pickup spots to be run off to somewhere else. My original factory out there is all tore down, and you can see a train station where I was picking up some of the stuff I had made that takes a long time, like the heavy modular frames and supercomputers and whatnot. Got a couple of factories in there still making the compact coal, which I use for stuff. Use for stuff and nonsense. You can see some of these theoretical areas off the edge, and I'm curious to see if the makers of the game are going to make this map huge enormous. It'd be kind of neat if they did. But it would take an absolute monster of a PC to run it. I mean, unless they break it up in sections, maybe, with load screens and whatnot. That track runs off to my old base. There's the coal generators helping the trains run. Here's my main oil factory, and it makes the classic nuggets and turbo fuel and petroleum coke. There's the fuel. There's the generators plugged into the trains. There's some other generators over there, and they're running the main factory system. I built those mostly just to consume fuel, which would consume other stuff needed for the plastic production. So there's my electronic factory, my advanced steel factory, making heavy modular frames and motors and etc. And now we're coming back to the starting location. And I intend to run tracks off to the left up in there to take advantage of some good nodes, mostly coal. In there, if you head that way, you get back to the original desert starting location. And that's it, man. That's my whole railroad as of right now. So hopefully you guys got some ideas out of this, and hopefully you didn't barf too much while I made this video. And have fun and enjoy.